After a lot of searching online, I couldn't find a decent video that summarises how to convert a Spinergy Rev X Shimano rear wheel into a fixed wheel. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. So here I've got a first generation Spinergy Rev X rear wheel with a Shimano freehub cassette body. I'm going to be using the Walker Brothers Shimano freehub to fixed wheel converter. And this is a replacement for the Surly Fixer, which is now discontinued. The link will be in the comments below. These are the tools you'll need. 50mm cone spanner, 10mm hex Allen key, an adjustable spanner, some grease and a mallet. So first step is to remove the lock nut and then remove the axle. By holding the inside lock nut, loosen off the outside lock nut with a spanner and remove. And then loosen off this inside lock nut. So keep hold of this because you'll need this when doing the hub conversion. At this point you'll see the ball bearings and then you'll be able to slide out the axle like so. So looking inside you'll see the retaining nut, and that's where the 10mm Allen key goes to release the freehub body from the wheel. So inside the freehub body you'll need the inside locking nut, so just flip it on its head and then tap out the outer bearing cover just with the mallet, like so, and the ball bearings will drop out. So this is the bit that you need for the hub conversion. So a quick look at the hub before we assemble it. This is the Shimano spline where the fixed wheel sprocket will go, and then on the non-drive side you have the cartridge bearing that will stay in place. So setting the converter onto a couple of rolls of electrical tape, what I'm going to do is just put into position the nut like that, and then in the kit you get this 6901 cartridge bearing. So it's already applied with a little bit of grease. So I'm just going to set that on top and then tap it in using the mallet. So here we've got the converter with the bearing in place, nice and flush, ready to screw onto the hub. So applying some grease to the splines and also the threads. And that will just screw in now with the 10mm. So this is a really important part, was to figure out the order in which the axle goes in with the various lock nuts and spacers. So from drive side to non-drive side, we have the track nut, lock ring, bearing insert, axle. I'm going to apply some grease all the way along these threads. Then we've got the original inner lock nut from the Shimano hub. The Spinergy hub, lock nut, spacers that come with the Walker Brothers kit, and then non-drive side track nut. So I'm going to start assembling the hub from the drive side first. So with this arrangement here, just going to insert the axle, and that should just press home. If it doesn't, just tap it in with the mallet. So with the bearing spacer all the way home, I've just left a little bit of a gap between that and the lock nut, and then you'll see the track nut I've made absolutely flush with the end of the axle, and I'll come back to the reason why I've done this shortly. So flipping the wheel over, working from the non-drive side, I'm using the original inside lock nut from the Spinergy hub, and I'm just going to tighten that down so that it goes tight down inside the cartridge bearing, but there shouldn't be any binding, it should be free to spin round. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to leave a bit of play for the time being. And then on top of that goes the spacers, like so. Then the outside lock nut. And then finally the track nut. Now the reason I put the track nuts flush to the end of the axle is to then make sure that there's enough space, there's the same space between the track nut and the inside lock nut. So you can see here I've got too much threads showing on the drive side, so it's just a case of turning the axle so that it moves from drive side to non-drive side to create equal spacing to get the wheel centered in the frame. So after a little bit of back and forth, you can see here I've got equal threads showing on both the drive side and the non-drive side. You can use a tape measure to measure if you want to get it exact, and then it's just a case of locking off the inner and outer lock nuts on each side using the 15mm spanner and the 15mm cone spanner and the adjustable spanner. So making sure that there isn't too much binding, there's plenty of play in the bearing, but the axle doesn't move. And then you'll have a fixed wheel Spinergy Rev X, and this method and the Walker Brothers converter will also work in older tri-spokes and other wheels that uses the Shimano spline freehub system. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful.